27th meeting of the Mayor and City Council, meeting in regular session on Monday, March 11th, 2019. We'll have the invocation led by Reverend Warren H. Litchfield, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Mo.
Almighty God, we gather this evening hour to conduct the business of this city. We offer prayer for our mayor, for the president, the members of the city council, and for all in authority. Grant unto them a sense of justice, strength, and wisdom. They perform their duties on behalf of all thy people. We commend this city, this county, this station, this nation, and our people to merciful care and understanding. Remember all those who lie upon a bed of affliction. Comfort those who mourn. In the name of the one who's Lord of life, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, all the kids going to help us do Pledge of Allegiance, right? Ready? Ready? Yeah. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Good job.
Goodness.
It's really exciting to have a room full of folks, especially when we have young people who come out to our meetings for whatever reason. You're here. Ms. Rao, would you please call the roll?
Mr. DeWalt,
Here.
Mr. Sidnor,
Here.
Ms. Nicholas,
Here.
Mr. Les,
Here.
President Smalls,
Here.
Mayor Mo.
Agenda item 2 is approval of minutes. Approval of the minutes of the 26th meeting of February 26, 2020, rather February 25th, 2019. Council, I'll entertain a motion if there are no edits or changes.
And Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the minutes of February 25th, 2019.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Rao, please call the roll.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
President Smalls.
I vote yes. Second item is approval of minutes of the March 6th, 2019 work session. Council, once again, if there are no edits or changes, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Les.
Mr. President, I second as corrected. I talked to the clerk already.
Okay, so your motion
Yes,
is as amended?
Yes.
Or it, okay. All right. Any discussion further? Hearing none, Ms. Rao, please call the roll.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
President
I
Smalls.
vote yes. Agenda item 3 is report of the mayor and city council, and tonight we'll start with Councilman DeWalt.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple things to report. If you missed it, the Laurel open house, the mayor's open house here at the City Hall was on the 3rd, which was a Sunday from 1 to 4. A lot of interesting exhibits, a lot of information, and a lot of the services that we provide here in the city of Laurel. Upcoming on my calendar, on Wednesday the 13th, Tom Dernoga, the Prince George's County Council member, will be speaking at 7 p.m. at Laurel Elementary School. On the 14th, one of our favorite charities, Laurel Cats, will be having a fundraiser at one of our favorite restaurants in the town, Tampico Grill on Route 1. And then on March 16th, our great police officers from the police department will be conducting a sobriety checkpoint. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Councilwoman Nicholas.
Thank you. As most of you all know, I'm a member of the National League of Cities Human Development Committee, and their Congressional City Conference is this week. On Wednesday, they will be visiting the Maryland delegation and other senators and congressmen to talk about various issues. And the issues that we will be addressing for my committee is going to be mental health illness and also the opioid epidemic. And it's just great that they've taken a robust approach to tackling this problem. The last thing I want to talk about is I hope people will join me this Saturday. It's going to be at the Laurel Swimming Pool Meeting Room. It's tips for the master gardeners. For those who do pottery gardening, I'll be there. So please come join me. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Sidnor.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to say Happy Women's History Month to all the ladies out there. And I attended on March the 6th, I attended a Women of Excellence award ceremony sponsored by the Mayor of Washington, D.C., Marion Bowser. Also on March the 1st, I attended a workshop. The whole purpose of this workshop was the Youth Career Center in Capitol Heights. They focus on youth 18 to 24 who's not employed and not in school. It's almost similar to the Laurel Helping Hands. The Laurel Helping Hands focus on youth 16 to 24. So Laurel Helping Hands is more of a resource center to get you, find out what your needs are. And this center right here can help you out. And these are some of the things the center will help you out with. Once again, it's from youth 18 to 24, basic skills and pre-GD training, 3 days of emotional intelligence workshop, leadership development, financial literacy training, 6 days on paid job shadowing, 125 hours of paid work experience, placement assistance, referral for supported services, training-related financial assistance, and performance incentives. So once again, anyone from 18 and 24 who's not employed, not in school, this is a good place to go. First, I advise you to go to Laurel Helping Hands first, where they can refer you there. That way, they can get some credit for it as well. So once again, Mr. President, this is an excellent program for the youth out there, because it's the transition when folks start getting in trouble from that age. And there's things in place for them, so we need to take advantage of that. So all these family members out there, you might have a nephew, a cousin, a friend, or next door neighbor who just in transition. Just reach out to us at City Hall. You can contact the clerk, and she can give you more information about this information as well. So that concludes my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Councilman Les.
Thank you, Mr. President. On March 26th, I participated in an excellent briefing on developments in guard dog fences and how it relates to increased or enhanced physical security for storage facilities. March 28th, I attended a public hearing here at City Hall conducted by the Maryland Department of the Environment and listened to concerns of Laurel residents and those of many of our residents from Anne Arundel County living in the Brockbridge Road area. March 6th, as you've heard, we had a very successful open house here at the Municipal Center. There are many groups represented, and thanks to all of our city staff who make this a success every year. On March 9th, I testified at the bond bill hearing in Annapolis on behalf of the Mayor and City Council, Laurel City citizens, on our request for partial funding of the multi-service center. They've changed the format a bit so you don't have panels anymore. Just have one individual speaking in behalf of the bond bill requested. March 10th, I attended a meeting of the National League of Cities Transportation and Infrastructure Services Federal Advocacy Committee in Washington, D.C., on which I serve. This committee advocates for all manner of improved, safer transportation, including roadways and rail traffic, and two of the issues on the agenda are the enhanced safety of tanker cars. When they get in an accident on the railroad, many of them are the old style, and they cause explosions and release of gases and toxic fumes. And the other issue has to do with the freight trains preempting passenger rail traffic on many of our lines around the country. We've got 2 million people go to work on Amtrak every day in the South. Every day. That's the only way they have to get to work. We have a lot of ways to get to work here in the Washington area, but down south, they don't have those roadways, so they rely upon Amtrak. So this is a committee that has got a robust agenda in Washington on Wednesday. I will not be with them as I'm not allowed to lobby congressmen as I'm still hatched as a federal employee, but there are many people on that committee that will be up on Capitol Hill speaking to our representatives. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Les. Mayor Mo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things. First, good evening to all. Welcome. We hope to see you back every Monday night. Every other Monday, I should say. Let me offer speedy recoveries to Lieutenant John Hamilton, his sister, a little bit under the weather. We wish them the very best and keep them in our thoughts and prayers. I did have the opportunity to attend the Laurel High School International Day, actually that evening. Just well attended, great entertainment, and to see all the different cultures that represent the school and the city. So I appreciate that invitation to be with them. As you heard, we did have our open house. I want to acknowledge Joanne Barr, our Director of Park and Recreations, and all the department heads that are sitting over there that participated and were here that day, along with the many vendors and volunteers, the civic organizations. We're going to hear from the hospital. They were here as well. And just an opportunity to come in and learn about what's going on in your community and be involved. So we want to thank everybody. There were several hundred people here that went through. And we appreciate that it didn't snow and everything went off well. So, Joanne, to you and your staff and all the department heads, we want to thank you for the work that you did. I did attend the side-by-side Rise and Shine fundraiser breakfast on Saturday morning. Those that may know, Joe Murchison has been the founder and been running this organization. Last year, this time, he announced that he was looking for a new executive director to step down. Joe made another announcement that he is going to stay for another year. We were glad. Joe's done an outstanding job working with Side by Side. Joe Murchison also is the chair of our new educational committee. So we're just very happy, well attended. Hopefully they made some money. They do great work in our community. And I encourage you, if you've never heard of Side by Side, go home and Google them and take a look at the work that they do in our community and our schools. As you heard, National League of Cities is meeting in D.C., the District of Columbia. Started actually Saturday. Most of us attended Sunday. I was there today with several different programs that are going on. One of the programs I did sit into was the opioid addiction that is epidemic that is going on in many communities. It was interesting to hear what mayors of other cities are doing and council members. Just a wealth of knowledge. We did provide some information to the chief in the back as well, and we are seeing some patterns here, but we're going to require all of us to work together as a community. There's some good ideas out there, and I've always said if it's a good idea and it's good for your community, we're going to take it and run with it. The other thing that I want to remind everybody, we're going to be doing a whole lot of this. Census 2020 is coming up. Set through another program, got a lot of different ideas for that as well. We already have it and have been working on census internally here through the city administrator's office, and I think Christian Pulley is our contact and been attending meetings. But we're going to really work very, very hard to get the community involved, to make sure people understand to be counted, why it's important to be counted. It's funding sources that come from the federal government on down that touch the lives of everybody in this room. And I think last time we were done, the city has always felt they've been undercounted, and there is consequences for that. We're going to do a lot of different educational pieces. We're going to do some mail outs. We hope to get a group together of citizens to help us really get the word out. April the 1st of 2020, the forms will be sent out. So we encourage everybody here this evening to make sure that you fill those out and return those. I have one appointment, and I also have a proclamation, Mr. President. I'll do the appointment if you're okay with that. Oh, actually, and you also heard Councilman Denoga is this Wednesday is holding his community meeting at 7 p.m. We encourage people to participate and show up at the Laurel Elementary School as well. I have one appointment, okay, and then I'll go down. I have the appointment for the Environmental Affairs Committee of Tawana Spencer. Is she here?
No. No,
No,
I
not
I
here.
spoke with her
Oh,
earlier
okay.
today.
We did provide you all with the letter as well as the her bio.
Council, while the mayor is making his way down, I'll entertain a motion to approve Ms. Spencer to the Environmental Affairs Committee.
I make a motion to approve Tawana Spencer to the Environmental Affairs Committee.
Thank you for that motion. And second, any discussion? Ms. Rao, please call the roll.
Miss Nicholas?
Yeah.
Mr. Les?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
President Smalls?
I'll vote yes, and I'll point out that I know Ms. Spencer and have known her for a little while. She's a very dedicated and committed individual, so she'll do extremely well on this committee. Mayor Mo?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have proclamation 2019-02. Whereas the City of Laurel recognizes that sports are a major social force that influences American culture and the City of Laurel families. And whereas those involved in sports, including coaches, players, fans at all levels, should promote good sportsmanship and foster the development of a positive characteristics for physical fitness and positive personal growth. And whereas the elements of sportsmanship reflects cultural skills that will help players thrive throughout their education, a strong sense of character and collaboration can also prepare you for the workplace. And whereas sportsmanship can combat bullying, that's water, and promote inclusion by providing a safe and healthy environment where players value respect, fairness, integrity, responsibility, and preservation. And whereas fostering these qualities on the playing field can prevent harassment and reduce injuries. Now, therefore, I, Craig A. Moe, the Mayor of the City of Laurel, do hereby proclaim March 2019 as Good Sportsmanship Month in the City of Laurel and encourage all citizens to join us in recognition and celebrate good sportsmanship. Is there some, I know everybody's here. We're going to have everybody come up, but the coaches, I think James said a couple. Who's the coaches? Come on up. Then we're going to get everybody to come up. Actually, you're here, come on up. Just getting behind, we'll get a picture. The coaches are the only ones I think that are going to speak. Thank you all very much. Thank you all. Okay.
Stand right there, turn around. Hold the trophy up. Okay,
Come on around.
thank you.
We're going to get a picture. I know how this game works. Come on over. Squeeze in. Get close. What sportsmanship's all about, right? Come on over. All right, everybody look at the cameras. And we've never had so many cameras back around. Get everybody. Audrey. They look and smile. Move. Don't move. Okay. Who wants to speak?
I'll just quick
Just
word,
you'll
Mayor.
introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your organization.
All right. First of all, thank you, Mayor Mo. My name's Ariel Dominguez, and I'm one of the coaches, one of the championship coaches of the few that are here. Just to say thank you on behalf of James Agby, who is the commissioner of the WISE Basketball League. WISE does stand for Winning in Sports and Education. And all we do is promote and thank the community for coming out and letting us coach your kids and teach your kids that sportsmanship, education, and being together as friends, right? Most of us are friends. We compete against each other. We compete with each other. And just take this great opportunity to show sportsmanship to each other. Although there is tough competition at times, at the end of the day, we all hug each other. We always go home, and I can tell you, in win or loss, these kids are always showing great sportsmanship with their friends. I know, Jim, and on behalf of James Agby, I know education is priority with the league. he always says that if a student needs help, he has tutors in place for families that need them, just to reach out to them. And that's all I have to say. I just wanted to thank you, Mayor Mo, letting us have a program of this caliber in your city. Thank you. No, sir.
We're trying to get everybody a city pin as well on behalf of the mayor and council. Let me ask the council to come down because they need to get a shot with this as well, right? All right, everybody stay still. We're going to have council come down. Did everybody get a pin?
Does anybody need one?
Now, those are key to the city pins. Everybody listening? Everybody listening? Those are key to the city pins. Now, they don't open any doors up. And they will not get you out of homework. But you wear them proudly. All right, hold on. Everybody look this way.
Everybody look.
You got council up? Don't move. Move. One more second. All right. Let me just, on behalf of the mayor and council, thank you all and thank James in particular. He is always coming to us with new programs. Joanne's always showing up in my office and says, we got something new we're partnering with. It's been a great partnership. We thank you for all of you coming out tonight. And remember what sports is all about. What is it all about? You got it. Great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Oh, okay.
As some of the coaches and players, well, I'll just, no point. Yeah, let's take a 3-minute recess.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. As I was attempting to say before the room cleared, during the basketball season, I spent just about every Saturday morning at the DePietro Center watching every one of the basketball games. Two of my grandsons played and have played for several years with the WISE organization. So I'm very proud of our association with the city, with this organization, and wish them much, much, much success in the future. I also just want to point out, among all of the important folks who are here in the audience this evening, former Mayor Robert DePietro. I wanted the young people to hear that the center where they play is named after Mr. DePietro. But of course, they were more excited about photos and then making their way out. But nonetheless, we thank them for being here. I mentioned to the coaches at the end of the season, right after the end of the championship game, that I was going to talk to the mayor about getting them out here. So I see great minds think alike. Yeah. So it was great to have them here. Okay. We'll move to agenda item 5, the general public hearing. I will open the general public hearing at 7:24. I have no one signed up to speak during the general public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the general public hearing at 7:24. Agenda item 6 is a presentation, an update on the University of Maryland Laurel Regional Hospital. Dr. Hall or Ms. Perkins, please introduce yourself and welcome.
Here you go. Yeah. that onto the green light.
Just hold it there.
Dawn.
Thank you, President Smalls and Mayor Mo. What a warm spirit that was, and to see that energy, those smiles, just in that spirit of sportsmanship. So again, thank you for having us here this evening. As you know, we have a slide presentation to share. Thank you, all council members, and all in attendance. I guess all on this side of the room now. My name is Sherry Perkins. I serve as president and CEO of Capital Region Health. We appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this evening to share updates on now the University of Maryland Laurel Medical Center. We, and kind of in keeping with this spirit of positive energy just displayed, we are very appreciative of the council's leadership, Mayor Mo's leadership, the tremendous time, creativity, energy, collaboration that you've given in the transition of Laurel Regional Hospital to what we now call University of Maryland Laurel Medical Center. So tonight we're going to cover a few points. Our intention is to do this, well, we have a handful of speakers lined up for you. We're going to do this over this slide presentation in a few points. We're going to cover our timeline, our services and programs, our workforce update, our community outreach efforts, our campus development plans, and a brief update on the broader Capital System projects. And I am happy to recognize in terms of that broader Capital System updates, one of my new board members, Bob DiPietro. Here. I will invite a familiar face to the podium, our executive for Laurel Medical Center, Dr. Trudy Hall, who will kick off, run us through these slides, hand off to a couple of additional speakers, and then certainly we'll address your questions. Thanks again very much for all your energy, and thank you for having us here this evening.
Good evening. Thank you, council members, President Fred Smalls, and my Capital Region Health team for coming today so we can actually give you an update. The last time that we came before this body was in September, and a couple months have passed, and now we're proud to say that we are now the University of Maryland Laurel Medical Center. Of speakers, and the primary objective is really to, since the last time we've met, what has occurred, and to really update this body as well as update the citizens of Laurel and Beltsville of what is within the system. So the first good news to bring up is that we obtained EMS base station medical system, or known as MIMS, effective December 31st to 2022. We were evaluated in November after a first-year provisional, and I would like to also introduce Dr. Lou Vega, if you could stand up, our medical director for our emergency services, as well as Dr. Ramin Lagan, who actually works in our emergency room and also handles our risk, but is this team of emergency room physicians with the University of Maryland that has really led to us obtaining our 4-year certification for our base station. So just to remind this body of our transition timelines, as well as the journey that I call it, that we have come together regarding this county collaboratively with the medical systems, as well as Capital Region Health over the last 2 to 3 years. And to quickly go through where we are at the bottom, looking at the ultimate goal at the end, which is going to be a new facility opening, but also additional goals regarding our campus development and a health and wellness campus. To go over some details regarding the transition timelines of the units, our chronic hospital was relocated to the Prince George's campus in December.
Also, our inpatient beds, behavioral health, med surg, and critical care beds was also discontinued. Our acute rehab center was relocated to the Prince George's campus, and January 1st, we operated as the University of Maryland Laurel Medical Center in our current building until the new building is built and we move into our new location. Many of you have seen this slide over and over and over again, but again, this is just to remind you of our current state with emergency services, our observation services, which are 10 beds. We are currently receiving patients from our emergency room that are going up to observation level of care. We are also receiving patients from our Bowie campus that meet observation level of care or short stay, as well as possibly looking at futures of taking patients within the system, possibly Prince George's over time, to actually accentuate and also facilitate this level of care to make sure that we are providing services for the county. Our outpatient surgery, 2 ORs and 2 procedure rooms, lab and pharmacy services to support our emergency services and our observation care in our OR, as well as behavioral health, which we will have an update from Kent Alford, who is our Director of Behavioral Health Services for Capital Region Health, and our Wound Care Center, which has been a freestanding program for many years, has received the Center of Excellence and continuing to provide wound care services for the county. So as we look at our new model of care, I wanted to give just a brief bar graph to give a sense of the patients that we are seeing in our emergency room and have been needing to transfer to a higher level of care. The quarter prior to us transitioning, if you could see, we were between 139 and 191 transfer volume. Our first month and second month, you can see our numbers. So we're pretty much staying close to where we were prior to. And again, we transferred patients in of care prior to our transition. And at this point, we're system call it a traffic controller, which is our nurse transfer flow coordinator. So if you think about the logistics of having to move patients from an emergency room to other facilities, there's a lot of coordination that needs to be done between nursing, physicians, ambulance, transfer vendor companies, as well as any frontline staff in moving those patients safely from our emergency department or services to other facilities. This has been one of the key positions that we've added that has helped to facilitate a much smoother transport, and also it allows the physicians to concentrate on bedside patient care rather than having to spend that time. If you speak to Dr. Lagan and Dr. Vega, they have been very happy with that position and has allowed them to be more efficient in managing the patients in our emergency room. Our current campus services, and in previous presentations, we have kind of just had wide buckets of the services that we've had over the last 4 to 5 years on the Laurel campus. I wanted to associate the names and the physicians that we've had providing those services over the last anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Some of them new, some of them, again, we've added on more services. But just for this body to know, we continue with these services as well as making changes. And I want to say the changes in the growth of services is not just on the Laurel campus, but actually looking at the growth of those services across our system. So, for instance, we have primary care, Dr. Mutabata, who's been providing services for our Laurel community. Dr. Kerry Lewis and Dr. Akoma has been providing maternal fetal medicine and OBGYN services, but also provided at Prince George's as well as Bowie. And then we have Dr. Nadavati, a program that started at Laurel, which is our pulmonary lung health program, that he has subsequently moved across the system over the last 2 years to not only Cheverly, but also to Suitland. We look at Dr. Reeves. We have pain management on the Laurel campus and looking hopefully to expand services across the system, as well as thoracic surgeons Steinberg and Biswas, and again, Dr. Hayward and Dr. Sarah Dewson, who is our vascular surgeon, who is also practicing in Bowie and Prince George's. So again, looking at services and our physicians and really expanding the scope of services from our campus to other campuses, as well as looking possibly services from other campuses onto our campus. One of the new programs, and I know the initiatives, is looking at diabetes in our community. A diabetes focused program that we have in the plans is a diabetic prevention program. It is a program through the CDC, which is evidence-based intervention for diabetes prevention. In National Institute of Health, they had really good outcomes in trials showing that over 2.88 years of high-risk adults, the diabetes incidence was reduced by 58% with an intensive lifestyle intervention and 31% with metformin, which is an oral medicine to control diabetes, as compared with placebo. The goal is that we are looking to roll the program over the campuses, but primarily also to have some of these classes of intervention in the Laurel area. Another program that's focusing on diabetes is the Stanford University Diabetes Self-Management and Education Program. This has been done in partnership with the Prince George's Department of Family Services. Again, another evidence-based prevention and health prevention program that addresses the common issues that are faced with patients with chronic conditions as well as diabetes. The program actually started on March 5th. It will run through April 22nd. It is on Mondays, and actually on my way here, leaving the hospital, I saw the program going on in our JRJ, and over 20 participants have been in this program, and we're looking, hopefully after this round of classes have gone through, to actually expand the program. So physician recruitment and expanding and offering new services across the system. Many of you may or may not have heard of the Providence Hospital that closed at the end of this year. It was sad for that community, the closure of that hospital, but it did create some opportunities regarding key physicians as well as programs that we're able to actually offer at Capital Region Health. We have these three physicians, Dr. Rickford, who is a general surgeon and a bariatric specialist. He has been the director of the bariatric program and weight loss program at Providence. Dr. Vikisha Fripp, who worked with him in collaboration, a plastic and reconstructive surgeon. They are now part of Capital Region Health, looking at those services across the system and providing some of the services and surgeries at Laurel. Kirk Williams, who is an ENT surgeon, looking at his ability to provide services across the system. What's so attractive to a lot of these doctors as well as surgeons is that for our system, we now have 3 levels of care where they can provide services. We know a lot of insurances are actually driving some of these cases, OR cases, to the lowest cost of care through a freestanding ASC or ambulatory surgery centers, which our system has on the Bowie campus. But what's attractive is that we now have Laurel, which has those patients who may need overnight care, that we actually can do those surgeries if they're a low level of acuity and provide overnight services to continue to monitor them and have them go home the next day. And then obviously, if it's a high acuity patient, those patients will go to Prince George's Hospital Center to have those surgeries if they need complex medical care and critical care after their surgeries. I will now call Kent Alford, our Director of Behavioral Health. He will give you an update of where we are with our behavioral health services. And after him will be Veronica Ford, our Vice President of Human Resources, just to give you a workforce update.
Good evening, everyone. So we have some good news to bring back to the council. Working hard in the community to provide the services that were mapped out in the behavioral health stakeholders group. That meeting happened last year, and it identified some gaps that we needed to provide for the community. So I want to talk about some of the services that was addressed in that behavioral health work plan. So I guess on 1/16/2019, I was appointed as the co-chair of the behavioral health community advisory group. It's called BHAG. So a shorter way of saying it, basically we look at the community needs for behavioral health, and then we deliver upon those needs. One of this group has discussed is we don't have enough psychiatrists and clinicians in Prince George's County and Laurel, and how do we bring those providers to our area? So we're working on that. We're also looking at other things in terms of how we provide services to people in transition, addressing the opioid concerns, as already mentioned, and that group is doing a lot of good things. So now being co-chair to that group, we'll be able to really help move that agenda and support the residents of Laurel. Another thing that we're looking at, we've implemented, is our advanced screening tools. We know that depression is the number one diagnosis for mental illness in this area. And of course, the end stage game of depression is suicide. So how do we do a better job at assessing it? How do we do a better job at knowing how to treat it? So we adopted 2 evidence-based practice tools. One of them called the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale, which is a tool used across the country in major hospital systems to adequately assess suicide risk. About 6 questions that questionnaire offers. And then, of course, it begins for us to do the assessment to see what is the level of suicidality, how do we treat it, and what services we offer. In addition, we introduced another scale called the PHQ-9, the Patient Health Questionnaire. And once we discover depression, then we want to figure out, well, where is it? Is it at a low level, a medium level, or a high level? So using that scale, our clinicians now have a way of not only identifying depression, but really offering more long-term care treatment at the chronicity, the chronic nature of depression, and then offering services beyond just an inpatient stay. So we're very pleased that we have those 2 tools that we've implemented in the system, and we'll begin to really treat our patients and hopefully really wipe out depression as best we can. And then looking at our PHP programs, and that behavioral health work group, we promised that we would expand that program. And the good news is that we're now going from a 14-seat PHP program to now a 22, 28-bed program where we have the space and the capacity to meet the community needs. So we've already begun the process of expansion, and we also have a clinician that also speaks Spanish, so that we can not only we can now include other populations in that expansion of PHP services. So that has already begun. That space has been completed, and we look forward to moving on that expansion promise. Then, in addition, looking at that back at that work, the behavioral health work group that was done, we knew that chemical dependency and opioid addiction is a big issue. So we're happy to announce that we do have a vendor that we have identified after really looking through the things that they can offer the community. They will be offering what we call co-occurring substance abuse services, which basically, if they identify persons with opioid addiction, alcohol addiction, that they will offer comprehensive treatment for that person. It could be in the daytime, evening time, and they have I guess a proven way of really having good outcomes and providing services and support to those patients. So we're very happy to push on that agenda, and more details on that to come. In addition, we also noticed that our adolescent services were in need of being addressed. So one of the PHP IOP programs that we also added to our services will include a place where our adolescents can go to get partial hospitalization programming to really address some of the issues, including opioid addictions that also occur with adolescents. So those vendors' services have been, we're in contract agreement with them and looking through our legal teams to really vet them and bring them to our campus. And more details to come on that. Also, we have our MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding vendor, PIW, if anybody knows, the Psychiatric Institute of Washington, not too far from us. They also have an array of adolescent services that they offer. And we are pleased to announce that we have a Memorandum of Understanding with that group where they have an expedited way of looking at our adolescents, being able to assess them and take them away from the emergency room, which is really not a place for adolescents to be waiting for assessment. At PIW now, we partner with them to provide emergency services for those adolescents that need help. And then lastly, we have another group called Housing Health. We have a MOU with that group where they do psychiatric rehabilitation programming, where we know that behavioral health patients also need a place to go, a place to work, a place to be able to recreate, and just do things, the basic life skills that are necessary to survive. And that program is wrapped around our main programs, and we can refer our patients now to that group to provide that long-term, lifelong support that is needed. So very happy to offer those programs and put those in our PHP program, which is our flagship, and we'll continue to grow and expand as indicated. Okay. Turn the slide, but there it is.
Good evening. I'm Veronica Ford, the Vice President of Human Resources, and we'll start with showing you the great workforce that we have. If you look at the pictures, you'll see a cap and gown photo. That photo was taken just last week. If you recall, I said we would offer certified nursing assistant program, and we would also offer a patient care tech program. We've completed both. The certified nursing assistant program, we had over 20-something to graduate from that program successfully. We partnered with Prince George's Community College, and Valerie's raising her hand as one of the graduates. And we offered the patient care tech program. We offered that program to our employees and also to the community. We actually had better results from our community as far as the patient care tech program. And you'll see job shadowing day. We offered that and made sure that we actually bus people over so that they can be a part of the job shadowing day. And with it, the partnership, the best partnership we've had has been with Prince George's Community College. They meet us and our employees where they are, if that means coming on campus to help us out, if it means setting up additional training, studying sessions for them. Prince George's County Community College has been great. Again, we offered the job shadowing days, the $11.99 SEIU. They are and continue to offer classes that will help our employees get certifications. We meet with them twice a month to discuss the tough fun and any issues that they may have on both sides that we or they may have to work together. The patient care tech program was actually a partnership with It Works and Associated Black Charities. We were able to use an EARN grant for that particular program. And lastly, and most importantly, and what you all may be waiting on is what about all of the employees that wanted a job? As we promised over and over again, anybody who wished to remain employed with us through this transition still continues to have a job. We also felt that, Laurel has been part of this community, the Laurel Hospital has been part of this community for over 40 years. So not just to leave and go, but to invite some that have gone to come back and celebrate with us. If you look closely, you will see a picture of the old hospital, and then there's just a little tear on what's new to come. Thank you. Thank you, Ken and Veronica, for your update. Our community outreach. So an important initiative has been to update as well as making sure we continue to be engaged with the community. So I know there was the Laurel Health Fair that we were happy to participate. I know there was a strong showing by many of our staff. We did a lot of health screenings on that day. The city of Laurel representing and educating really the community about Capital Region Health, because again, it's a new name. People are still wondering what's Capital Region Health. So again, as we're talking about our new name at Laurel, how do we also educate Marylanders as well as some residents from Washington who use our service about Capital Region Health? Laurel Main Street Festival is coming, and we've always had a presence there, so we will continue to have a presence there and do healthcare screenings. I know last year we had the mommy and baby bus. That was very, very well received, and we would continue to do that. Also, we have a pediatric dental group that initiated our pediatric dental OR program approximately 4 years ago. They are opening up a new office right there on Conti and Route 1. If you've seen the new signs, they'll be having their open house in April. They are going to have 16 operatories for pediatric dentists as well as orthodontics. So we're excited for that group in this expansion. And this expansion, we are their primary site for their surgical services. So again, with Dr. Casper and Camper, we're looking forward to their expansion of their new location. And then upcoming, we have a couple of health and wellness education. Victoria Falls, they have actually approached us to do quarterly health education with them. We'll be starting off the first one in April. Part of that will be the group about what's going on with the hospital. They are our probably closest senior residents at a eyes view from the hospital front door. So we're excited to do that. I will be giving that update as well as doing some education and screening on falls prevention. They've also created a curriculum that they would like the hospital to partner with to do education to that group, and we'll continue to work with them as well as hopefully sometime later in the year to do a health fair for them. Also, we know we have the District 1 Town Hall that's coming up in Beltsville, and we plan to attend to give some further education. And then the Laurel Beltsville Senior Activity Center, I will be giving an update group on May the 6th. They have also have agreed to allow for some of our literature to be in their lobby so they can update the section to that. Well, has been signages, new medical center, as well as signages to educate the community. We've had a couple of Laurel Leader ads since the beginning of the year. We have a distribution of educational material called Marin Health Matters. And that's the article for the February distribution. That's already been mailed to most of the houses and is still be going out in the next couple of weeks. We also have a new patient and family brochure. There are some examples of some mock-ups of some of our material that will be for distribution. We also have a social media campaign. We need to figure out how do we reach the tech savvy and the young members of the community. So again, social media is probably one of the highest ways to reach this demographic. Also, the Regal Cinema ad, we will be updating the ad. I just got news from Shantae. We'll begin shooting in April for our new ad in the Regal Cinema. And many of you know 15 minutes and 5 minutes before every movie, those ads are actually shown, which will be a great way to reach another demographic, as well as in-home the residents directly. So next, I will introduce Mr. Jeff Johnson. He's our Senior Vice President of Strategic Business Development, and he will pretty much review what made progress we made regarding our site development, our master developer, as well as our building, and also give updates regarding our timelines for construction.
Thank you, Doctor. I think I almost got a promotion there, being called a doctor. So two objectives that I have with you all is one, to basically give you an update on the facility planning of the new Laurel Medical Center facility, as well as the campus development, and then just give you a brief overview of University of Maryland Capital Region Health and some of the other projects that we're working on county-wide. Keep in mind, I guess this corner right here is where the new medical center will go, and this is what the architectural drawings are. Now, this again will be a 2-story facility, approximately 76,000 square feet, investment of probably a little over $50 million currently estimated to be. When you see the top architectural drawing, that's the front of the facility, and this will be kind of catty corner between Conte and Van Dusen. I think they're going to try to have it catty corner, so to speak, on that corner, so we've got frontage on both Conte as well as Van Dusen to try to give the facility more appearance there. Again, as Dr. Hall alluded to, the level 1 will be our surgery center. That will be composed of 2 operating rooms and 2 procedure rooms. That will also have our PACU and preoperative care areas, as well as a physician office suite for some clinics. The higher level, the second level, will basically be our 24/7 emergency center. We will also have a 10-bed short stay unit on that level, as well as our basic diagnostic services for lab and imaging, and then our behavioral health outpatient treatment center will be there on that floor as well. Adjacent to this building is planned to have approximately about an 80,000 square foot medical office building as well. And we're trying to do the plans now to try to get that to be connected somehow to the connected to the freestanding medical facility. These are just some architectural drawings of what the center will look like. There will be 2 reception areas, 2 reception as well as registration areas on both levels. And then on the second floor, we'll have a area for like a food and beverage center for our patients and staff. So the way it's looking like right now, as far as giving you an update, Wilmot Sants has been selected as the architect for this project. Kim Engineering is one of the local engineering firms that we're using for the topography, soil borings. And then we've got Joyce Engineering is actually doing the site plans with us from Laurel. So we're really happy to have, some local firms being part of this project. From the standpoint of the actual timeline, we think that we should be getting all of our approvals for the project by October of this year. And then we will go through a bidding process for the construction in August and November of 2019, with the construction contract being awarded probably sometime in late 2019, maybe around November or December. And then with that, immediately the start of the construction, with the construction being completed sometime in the summer, fall of 2021. So to give you a perspective on this campus, one of the things we really want to do here is to create a destination wellness campus. So we don't want this just to be a campus where you have an emergency center or an ambulatory surgery center. We want this campus to be fully developed with additional medical office buildings, with additional healthcare-related services. And we want this to be a location where people will go for not only when they're sick, but also when they're well, and they want to get information about healthcare. They want to use other types of health-related services, particularly as it relates to wellness, because this is what we're really placing our emphasis on now, is really trying to make the population well and not just be a provider of services when everyone's sick and they require inpatient care. These are just a couple of again, architectural drawings of what the campus might look like. We're currently right now looking, and the fact that we went through about 9 RFPs for various national real estate developers to give us some ideas about this campus. And so where we are now is that we basically looked at those 9 requests for information proposals, and then basically from that we have picked 4 of these real estate development firms to give us full proposals, of which we have now received, and now we'll be going through those and looking at those. Hopefully we will have our decisions on which developer we want to use in the spring of this year, and then really begin to start the negotiations of how we want this campus to be developed. We really believe that this will be an exciting project, but quite frankly, it would probably take about anywhere from 7 to 10 years to fully reach maturity for the number of buildings and other amenities we want to have on this campus. Keep in mind, we're not really looking for this to be a campus where it's tight, very tight with buildings. We want this to be a place where people have walking trails or biking trails where they actually can enjoy the outdoors. So we definitely want more green space, in which you might see perhaps in some other type of real estate developments. So next, I'd like to just give you a brief overview of University of Maryland Capital Region. And of course, you well know about the Laurel Medical Center. We also have a campus at Bowie that you may or may not be aware of. Very similar to Laurel in that it is a 24/7 emergency center. Also has an ambulatory surgery center, as well as a medical office building. With that, the one thing that they don't have is what we call our short stay unit, which Laurel campus will have. And so it doesn't have all the amenities that the Laurel campus will have at this point. We also have our community medical group. That is our branch with a number of primary and specialty care practices with a number of locations throughout the county. And we're very proud of that because that's allowing us to do some really exciting things throughout the county. And then, of course, we have the Prince George's Hospital Center, which is our trauma center. Also, that's the county's only NICU and designated stroke center, among some other programs there at the Prince George's Hospital Center. This is a map that basically shows you our current locations, both from the standpoint of our facilities, as well as some of our medical group practices. So again, we are a health system to meet the needs of the whole county of Prince George's County. And so we do have plans to expand further, as I will allude to in just a moment. So this is just a slide by the numbers, just to show you basically what our volumes are from the standpoint of admissions, deliveries, emergency care visits, and so forth. So you can see from this slide, for example, we have about 106,000 emergency visits between our three centers. And it certainly is a significant service that we offer here, as well as the coordination with the trauma program that we have at Prince George's Hospital Center. We have approximately about 2,600 employees and about 800 or so physicians as part of our medical system. This is a slide that shows our leadership of University of Maryland Capital Region Health. And I just want to make one note on this slide is that probably since we spoke to you last, we have a new chief medical officer in Dr. Joseph Wright. He just came on board with us just a couple of months ago, and we're very proud to have him as part of our team. So these are our three major facilities. You certainly recognize the one on the top left, but the one on the top right is a new facility that we're going to have in National Harbor. And so this is a new medical office building that's in the process of being built today. And we are going to be renting one floor, approximately 19,000 square feet, to offer primary and specialty care services there. This is one of our outreaches that we want to try to promote the improvement of accessibility, particularly of primary care for the county. So we believe that we will be open in this new facility probably around July, August, sometime this summer. And then finally, what we're also very proud of is our new regional medical center that will replace Prince George's Hospital Center. So this will be University of Maryland Capital Region Medical Center. It will remain a trauma center, a NICU center, a designated stroke center. It will have all private patient rooms, which will be a blessing, for all of us, and especially our patients. Along with this, we also have plans to develop an ambulatory care center building next door to this facility. This whole campus will be redeveloped as across the street, there's some older retail there that you're all familiar with at Capitol Boulevard. A developer by the name of RPAI has the development rights for that area, and they have plans to completely redevelop that into a new township-type model with both residential, office building, and retail space. So it really is a huge economic project for the county there at the Largo area. So I think now we'll leave it and open up for questions.
Council, questions?
So before we entertain questions, I want to just make some final comments. I'd like to thank the council for allowing us to have this time. There are a lot of things that are going on. It's almost impossible to cover all the areas that we're working on in 20 to 30 minutes. And this is just a taste of a snapshot of the first 2 months of us in our new state, just to have you be familiarized where we are with our transition. I'd like to thank Dr. Perkins, as well as the Capital Regional Health Team for supporting this process and project. And also, most importantly, to thank the community for their patience and their transition as we are providing and altering the changes of how we provide services and improving our population. So with that said, questions from the council?
Okay, we'll start with Councilman Les.
I'm not going to ask you the obvious question, Dr. Hall.
Yes.
You told me I was going to get a date.
Jeff?
I didn't hear it.
Mr. Les?
So for the new facility?
Yes.
You come to the mic, please.
For the groundbreaking.
Okay.
I mean, the people in our city asked that question.
Yeah, so we're looking at now is probably late this year,
Okay.
with the construction going and then opening toward let's say the fall of 2021.
All right. Okay. So we can look forward to a groundbreaking sometime the end of this year, beginning of next year. That's what I just heard you say.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there, it's on television. The people now know. One more question, Dr. Hall. Where's the Gladys Spellman unit going to be?
So in my previous slide, it has already moved to Prince George's Hospital.
You don't show it on that slide, though.
It is, we did a review. No, the Gladys Spellman unit has already moved to Prince George's Hospital. So.
And then you list the things that are going to be there at the new center.
Oh, you're talking about at the Regional Medical Center?
Yeah. Is it going to be here?
At this time?
Don't know.
We're in the process of evaluating the unit and figuring out where will be a home for the unit.
Okay. I mean, as we know, that unit has done well financially over the years. Correct? And I'd hate to see it go somewhere.
Well, there's been many changes in healthcare over the last 10 to 15 years, and now skilled nursing facilities are now providing vet care units, which they didn't do probably 5 or 10 years ago. So there's been a transition of these patients that are now at Gladys Spellman for chronic rehab and chronic vents. Now the trend has been that these patients are being managed by a lot of skilled nursing facilities. I know in our own community, Patuxent is, if they haven't started already, is opening up a vent weaning unit at Patuxent right here in Laurel.
I'll only point out that there's a legacy that Gladys Spellman has to this community. And this community has Gladys Spellman, just like Dr. McSeany.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Les. Councilman DeWalt.
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to make a comment on Mr. Johnson, your presentation. You emphasized in your presentation real green space, and that's a breath of fresh air. Seeing how that you look at all the green space in that development, are you sure you don't want to put some buildings or something in there? Because you could probably make a lot more money, and that's what we're used to hearing all the time, instead of we hear green space, and we really would like to see green space all throughout the city of Laurel. Yet a lot of time developers come in there and they say green space, but you said real green space, so I'm going to hold you to that there's going to be a lot of green space in that area.
So what we're looking at with this project is that there's an opportunity. You could take this project and put buildings, all over the 40-some acre campus. And what we want to do really is to match the needs of the community from the standpoint of medical office building space and other types of, medical services. We want to design it in such a way, however, that it can be utilized for people for walking trails, biking trails, and those kind of things. There's even been some discussions with some of the developers that we've talked to about maybe there's some sort of small amphitheater or something where people can go to for light entertainment. So this is something that we don't see this as a project to maximize the rate of return on the land. We're really looking at this as to develop like I said before, develop a destination wellness campus that will bring residents back to Laurel for their health care, for their outpatient care, and at the same time allow us have a focus on wellness, because that's what we really need to do as far as the health system. We really need to put more resources into the health of the population to try to reduce the utilization of expensive resources. And at the same time, there are many disparities, both health disparities and healthcare disparities in Prince George's County. So having a strong population health management program within this Laurel area will go a long way in trying to improve the overall health status of your community.
Thank you. That's very refreshing.
But keep in mind, we will have more than just one building there, right? So,
Surrounded by greenery.
Anything else, Councilman DeWalt?
No, that's all.
Councilman Sidnor.
I have a question. I want to extend an invitation to Director of Human Resources. On May the 15th, we're having a job fair here in Laurel at the Robert D. Petrie Center. So if you need new hires or something, it's a good opportunity to come out and have a table reserved for yourself and hire some people from Laurel. We can you get more information from the clerk as well. You can contact our office and she'll give you a date and time as well. Let us know if you want to come by March 15th. I'm just joking. April 15th is like the confirmation date we want everybody to confirm. But if you can confirm before then, we'll greatly appreciate it.
I'm going to skip Councilwoman Nicholas. You all hear from her every day anyway. Councilwoman Nicholas.
No questions.
No questions. Before I go to the mayor, I'm just want to focus on one particular area that was part of the presentation that Mr. Alfred talked about, and that's behavioral health. And of all of the services that you mentioned, my particular interest is, aside from bringing a patient in, whether it's an adolescent or an adult, into the facility via emergency services, how else are patients, if they are at all, directed to any other services that are provided? You listed an arm's length of services, but I'm just interested in knowing how the community can take advantage of those services, if at all.
So just to kind of recap a couple of the services, our PHP program, I'll start there. We now have a marketing plan to really reach out to our vendors, our schools, to let them know that we have the service, what it is. Because as the education begins, is what is it? Can you come to it? And is it adaptable to work and school hours? So when we looked at the putting those programs in, we considered all of that. And then now we do have a marketing plan of who we target, particularly in Laurel, the area vendors, our schools, our communities, and then getting the message out that we have a program to support the community for mental health issues.
So while I'm very excited about the future, I'm keenly interested in services that are currently going to be continuing to be available to the residents of the city that will help meet their health needs. I think it's fair to say that if residents have to go somewhere else for some of their health care services, once a new facility is built, it may be an uphill battle to get some of them back into Laurel. So I think just making sure, as you mentioned, Dr. Hall has mentioned, and others, and making sure that there is an awareness effort so the community knows that when they drive by that there's still a lot going on within the walls of the building that's there. So I think it's really important that the community, through whatever efforts, I know you, Dr. Hall, you mentioned campaigns that will have literature, the movie theater, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's very important that people are saturated with information and knowing that the facility is still operating.
We're very conscious of the timing. And again, really, a lot of work's been done over the last month or two, and now really over the next couple of months, really spring and early summer, really making sure we get the information out. We are not closed. Again, we are open for services, and we want the community to come. Let the doctors determine what the services that you need. Come and allow us either to stabilize you and keep you, or stabilize you and send you home, or stabilize you and transfer you. So that's the message we want to make sure that we get out to the community. Janae and Shantae, our marketing communication department, they've been working very aggressively with on this campaign, and as well as some editing from our emergency room physicians who really have interactions with the patients and making sure we get that out. We're also trying to do touches back again with some of the groups that we met with a year ago, some of the senior facilities, back to some of the community centers, and also trying to look to get into newsletters just to make sure that the community understands. I do want to talk about behavioral health. Population health and prevention. We don't want to wait till someone totally decompensates and need to come to the emergency room. A lot of these patients, actually, if we catch them early and get them treated early, some of them can stay home and get outpatient treatment with our partial hospitalization or IOP program. These are the patients that we are trying to reach sooner. The scale that Kent talked about, our depression scale and the Columbia suicide scale, a lot of patients have been overutilizing inpatient services. How can we actually have a scale that helps identify these patients and then allow them to be treated in an outpatient setting versus needing inpatient care for 3 to 6 days? So we all know, some of the challenges, and we have committed that we will, try to enhance our community and population health efforts, especially around behavioral health, especially around addiction for this community. And that's with with Kent's leadership and some of the things that he's aggressively done really over the last 3 to 4 months just coming on board. We're really pleased that we're going to work through the process of working on some subject matter experts that are in the state that want to come to this area, as well as internally look at what we need to do to improve our services.
And just finally for me, Mayor, my last question is regarding human resources and personnel. There was a slide with a photo you mentioned about some of the staff in cap and gown. I'm just curious to know how many of those are actually retrained, if all of them are, or just what percentage of those are hospital personnel who have been with the hospital, who may have been working in one particular discipline or another, that they've now transitioned to the program that you talked about, where they are now graduates with presumably new skill set.
So thank you for your question. The graduates that entered the Certified Nursing Assistance Program were all local employees here. So all 20, I want to say 23 that completed the program, 25 started out, 23 completed the program. All of them were employees that are up. So they have their certification. Some have even gone a couple of steps beyond that. At least 4 of them have gone a couple of steps beyond.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Mo?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just going to make a couple comments. I'm not sure you need to really respond. But on the mental health, is that a 24/7 operation?
Emergency services for assessment, 24/7. The partial hospitalization,
Yeah, the
time treatment.
vendors you're talking about maybe bringing on, is that all 24/7?
So the assessment part of it definitely is 24/7. We'll have a line that people can call off hours. And in addition, there's evening hours too attached to some of those programs.
If not, then they'll go to the ER.
Yes, they can be referred to the emergency.
What are we doing about people that can't afford to pay with the vendors?
Well, some of these vendors do take Medicaid, Medicare. We wanted to be sure that we included that. And then those that we don't, that don't have the ability to pay
Is
at
there
all.
an indigent care piece of this or not?
Yes,
Y'all
there
worry
is.
about that as a new freestanding medical facility?
Yeah. So from behavioral health stance, we do take people who, don't have the ability to pay.
Okay.
But we try to wrap them around a payer source. So we do have an internal resource that people can go to get the Medicare, Medicaid funding that they might need to continue services. Unfortunately, with PHP programs, there's not a lot of money in those programs. Right. Emergency services, always, we don't turn away people. But in these programs, you really, really have to be aggressive in getting funding for people who don't have the resources.
Okay, thank you.
We still have the infrastructure for assessing patients' needs, and if we need to apply for them for medical assistance.
Well, I'm just thinking about some of the opioid issues that that we've had to deal with, and but okay, you answered my question. I'm okay. Just a couple things. I've been involved with, I guess, the hospital since Dimensions decided to do what they wanted to do, and to sit here and the other day to find out that National Harbor is now going to be opening up before the city of Laurel's, health facility is opening up concerns me greatly. The first time I heard about National Harbor was when I saw Sherry and Mark and them down at the delegation meeting in Annapolis. And that concerns me because, again, I know what we did here in Laurel. Was that done down there? All the needs assessments, all the reports, all of those things that I had to sit through and listen to, along with many of the public, to find out what we were going to do at Laurel. And that concerns me. That's not communications. This is a fluff. If you want to do anything, this is a fluff show. And if we're going to be open to everybody, let's be open. And to find out about that, like I did and others have sitting up here, it's just not appropriate. And again, it's now National Harbor. The medical facility is right down the road. We're still shifting things away from Laurel. And that concerns me still. You just said we're open for business. People have asked, are we open? There's no cars there. There is some real issues that I think need to be addressed. And I'll leave it at that. The other thing is we were promised to have a group of individuals that were going to run that facility, a president on down. And I've yet to see any of that as well, or even have a discussion. We were going to have a local, you call it what you want, I call it a board, local board that were going to be involved. Haven't seen any of that. There are some real issues here, and I hope as the next presentation, or even before that, we see some hard numbers. I'd like to know who's using the ER, where they're going, what type of calls are being run. Are they being transferred within the system, which is what this was all about, or are they being transferred outside the system? I've gone to Howard County General numerous times since we've moved inpatient out of the hospital. And again, I will state, I have no clue why we could not have waited a little bit longer. Thank you all very much.
If I can address your comments, Mayor?
You can if you want.
Okay. Harbor, actually, explanation regarding the national.
Listen, let me also make a comment. I got the green space. It's a campus. It's not an entertainment venue. It's a campus, medical campus. maybe National Harbor will take that, and you can have that venue down there. But the campus needs to be developed for a medical camp. That's what we have been talking about since day one.
For some clarity, Jeff, if you can just say what the National Harbor is out.
Let me address a couple of things, Mayor Mo. First of all, from the standpoint of the Laurel campus, yes, it is a medical campus, and what we're trying to do is to make it a medical health destination campus. We're trying to draw more and more people to utilize that campus for not only emergency care or going to see their doctor, but some other health-related services as well. And we feel that if we do that, then we will bring back the residents of the Laurel community to utilize the new medical facility, as well as the physicians who are investing in the community. And by bringing a synergy into that campus, we feel like there would be much more greater chance and opportunity to bring in additional specialists into the Laurel community. So, and there's also, the fact that anything that goes on that campus really has to be medically or healthcare related.
Correct.
Okay? So I want to make sure there wasn't any kind of concerns about that. The second issue, National Harbor. So the National Harbor project is an area where we saw an opportunity to expand to provide some primary and specialty care physician services. We do not have plans, nor are we going to have a 24/7 emergency center there, nor do we have plans to develop a short stay unit there as well. So the magnitude of services that will be at the National Harbor is far less than what you will see at the Laurel campus. That National Harbor project is mainly providing primary care and some specialty care for physicians. And Tiffany, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add to that.
Wait a minute. Okay. I don't even remember seeing in the needs assessment for Prince George's County that area needing this type of facility.
Well, in the southern region, particularly in some of the zip codes there is a need for primary care. When we looked at the public health study that was performed by the University of Maryland School of Public Health, some of those zip codes in that southern Maryland region have inadequate primary care.
Give me a minute. We moved quick on it, my issue. Right. Give me a minute.
So, Councilman Frederick Smalls? AMO? That would conclude our presentation.
Mayor, are you? Councilman Les?
Let me just mention, I mean, it was a surprise to me about National Harbor. I'm going to be honest with you. And I thought I was pretty well up. I read the Prince George's County assessment of the needs. I never saw a need recognized in that document for National Harbor. Okay, because I still have it at home. Went back and looked at it. As the mayor said, it moved quickly. But let me just mention one other problem. And Dr. Hall called me, and we've had a discussion about this. I had a family member at Laurel. She could have died. She was in there for observation for 2 days. And when it came time to transfer her, because I didn't even realize they weren't admitting any more patients there, she was in observation. The doctors were very nice, good people, both of them. One had been there 1 day from Doctors Hospital. She said, "We're going to transfer you to Chevrolet." My wife says, "No, you aren't." And she made the choice to go to Laurel Emergency Room. What turns out, she actually ended up at St. Agnes because Chevrolet didn't have a bed. I'm telling you this, there's a logistics problem. And you know the doctor, because it turns out the doctor that operated on her is on is on the accepted list for the University of Maryland. And they didn't wait. 2 days they had it in the operating room and took care of the problem. So all I'm saying is, and I've said this before, I've said it to different people, there is a logistics problem here. The mayor points out one problem. He didn't know, I didn't know, but I wouldn't have known about the National Harbor except somebody else mentioned it to me. Okay, but more importantly is I don't want to see a patient dying from Laurel because we don't have a bed down at Cheverly. And they're figuring out, trying to where are we going to put that patient now? And Dr. Hall, it's not your fault. You're just a messenger. You're taking my grief right now. But again, and we've had this conversation, but I think that we owe the people of Laurel better than that. I said, they're asking me, when are we going to break ground? I didn't have an answer, but we got an answer tonight, and that's good. But I'm just saying that we owe the people in Laurel more than that, better than that. They expect better than that. As my colleague has pointed out, if we lose them to another hospital, are they going to come back? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Okay, and I think my wife will say I wasn't nice tonight. She always tells me to be nice when I go out of the house. But again, I think that we owe the people of Laurel better than that. That's the message you got from me tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Les.
Patient safety and quality is of the forefront of all that we do.
I hear you. I want to see it demonstrated.
It's
I
demonstrated
truly
every
want
day.
I want it to be demonstrated, not every day, but every minute of every day.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Hall, Dr. Perkins, everyone here, thank you very much for the update. We look forward to our continued updates and collaborations. I think there are times, and I'm sure you all are professionals, you hear criticisms as well as praise. And it's taking it in the context that it's given to you to better the processes, to better the service that's delivered. And so with that, I certainly thank you all for being here. And we'll continue on with our agenda.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yep. Agenda item 7 is legislation, introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1938, an ordinance to amend the Laurel City Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Public Ethics, Section 2-56, to allow for certain technical changes to specify and clarify requirements for filing a financial disclosure statement in connection with a candidacy for elective office, and specifying the process for the review of a financial disclosure statement in connection with a candidacy for elective office by the City Ethics Commission and the Board of Election Supervisors, and providing an effective date. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. I will open a public hearing at 7:33. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 7:33. Second public hearing with possible action will be...
And the time is 8:33, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah, 8:33, thank you. Second public hearing with possible action will be held on Monday, March 25th at 7 o'clock p.m. Agenda item 7B, introduction of first public hearing on ordinance number 1938, 39, an ordinance to amend the general operating budget and capital improvement program of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 through June 30, 2019. Ms. Saylor?
Mr. President, as we discussed at the March work session, this ordinance is the second amendment to FY 2019. There are actually no net changes to the operating budget. It remains at $34,258,544. We captured some interdepartment transfers, which result in zero change. The change is actually to the capital improvement program to add $307,500 to the IT program project in order to purchase the mobile data terminals, which will be compatible with the county CAD and RMS system for safety and interoperability. And that's the only change.
Thank you, Ms. Saylor. I will open a public hearing at 7:35. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone who'd like to speak? Seeing no one other than Ms. Saylor, I'll close the public hearing at 7:35. A second public hearing with 8:35. I'm sorry, 8:30. We need to change this clock. 8:35. A second public hearing with possible action will be held on Monday, March 25th, 2019 at 7 o'clock p.m. Agenda item 7C is introduction to first public hearing on resolution number 3-19, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel for the purpose of providing healthy food options at city facilities and vending machines. Ms. Barr, no, anyone? No, okay. I will open a public hearing at 8:36. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone who'd like to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 8:36. Second public hearing with possible action will be held on Monday, March 25th, 2019 at 7 o'clock p.m.
Mr. President, I did just wanted to remind council in case somebody asks or people ask out on the street, we are meeting that goal already that Councilmember Nicholas is sponsoring. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Is there any other business to come before the Mayor and City Council? Seeing none, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.